The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Magha Nakshatra. Magha Nakshatra belongs to the water Tattva and is ruled by Ketu with the Pitris, ancestor, as its presiding deities. When Venus is placed in Magha, intimacy is expressed through loyalty, legacy, emotional reverence, and at times a strong desire for recognition within the bond. Venus here blends sensuality with ancestral memory and pride, making relationships feel karmic and emotionally rooted in duty or lineage. As a water Tattva nakshatra, Magha seeks closeness through respect, emotional security, and depth, but its success in intimacy hinges on how well its emotional nature harmonizes with the Tattva of the partner. With Earth Tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Magha experiences grounding and emotional assurance. Earth offers Magha a sense of structure, allowing its emotional expression to settle into consistent rhythms. These pairings tend to manifest as loyal and sensual relationships built on trust and mutual stability. Magha's emotional pride is respected by Earth, and Venus here is able to express care through protection and steady affection. The only caution is that Magha may feel underappreciated if the Earth partner is too reserved in expressing admiration or devotion. With other water nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, and Purva Falguni, Magha Venus finds emotional resonance, shared depth, and intuitive bonding. These combinations deepen intimacy through shared emotional values and compassion. There's a natural understanding of each other's inner needs, and sensual expression becomes a channel for emotional nourishment. However, when emotional boundaries aren't clearly maintained, the relationship may slide into possessiveness or a desire for emotional control, particularly from Magha's side. Fire Tattva nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falgun, create strain for Venus in Magha. Fire's expressive intensity and independence may clash with Magha's emotionally loyal and at times hierarchical approach to love. Fire may unintentionally disrupt the emotional continuity Magha seeks. Venus in Magha may perceive fire as too unpredictable or dismissive of emotional depth. While the sexual chemistry might be potent, long-term intimacy can feel unstable unless there is planetary compensation for emotional sensitivity and mutual validation. When paired with air Tattva nakshatras, Moola, Jyeshtha, Shravana, Purva Ashada, and Uttara Ashada, Venus in Magha may struggle with detachment or misalignment in emotional expression. Air's need for freedom and intellectual interaction may feel emotionally cool or evasive to Magha. These combinations often lack the reverence or emotional devotion Magha desires. Magha may feel emotionally exposed or dismissed, leading to power games, withdrawal, or hidden emotional dissatisfaction. Without strong mutual planetary aspects, especially involving the moon or Venus, the bond may remain shallow or fragmented. Ether Tattva nakshatras, Revati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada bring spiritual elevation and emotional expansiveness to Venus in Magha. Ether harmonizes with all tattvas, making these unions emotionally freeing, karmically significant, and potentially soul-aligning. Venus in Magha feels seen and spiritually supported in these connections, and intimacy is often experienced as a sacred exchange rooted in past life echoes. This allows Magha to let go of pride-driven attachment and embrace love as service and surrender. Magha Venus faces its greatest challenges in intimacy when paired with fire or air nakshatra partners. Fire may push against emotional control or hierarchy, while air may overlook emotional presence altogether. These imbalances can result in emotional power struggles, validation seeking, or unspoken resentment if not balanced by other softening chart placements. For fulfilling intimacy, Venus in Magha resonates most with water nakshatras for emotional depth and earth nakshatras for grounded sensuality. Ether tattvas allow emotional evolution and soul-level understanding. Fire and air tend to test Magha's emotional expectations, often making the connection feel either unstable or emotionally dry. Recognizing Tatva compatibility is vital for Venus in Magha to create relationships where intimacy feels noble, emotionally bonded, and karmically significant. The Tatva intimacy compatibility of nakshatras, Moola Nakshatra. Moola Nakshatra is an air Tattva nakshatra ruled by Ketu, with Niridi, the goddess of dissolution and root transformation, as its presiding deity. Venus placed in Moola produces a kind of intimacy that is raw, deconstructive, and deeply inquisitive. Moola doesn't approach relationships lightly. It seeks truth beneath the surface and often attracts or creates intense, transformative romantic experiences. As an air nakshatra, it needs mental space, freedom, and existential meaning within relationships. Venus here expresses love with detachment, intensity, and a desire to uproot illusion. But this air-based mode must interact skillfully with other tattvas for compatibility to thrive. With Earth Tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Moola finds grounding but also friction. Earth can stabilize Moola's radical relational style, providing physical presence and sensual reliability. However, Earth's resistance to rapid transformation and preference for emotional predictability can frustrate Moola. These pairings often work well when Earth offers containment without clinging, and when Moola allows some degree of routine to support intimacy rather than rejecting it entirely as stagnant. Water Tattva nakshatras. Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlisha, Magha, and Purva Falguni pose elemental tension for Venus in Moola. Water seeks emotional closeness, shared sensitivity, and deep feelings. Moola's Venus, while capable of passion, prefers existential clarity and minimal emotional drama. These unions may begin with fascination, but often lead to emotional discomfort. Water may experience Moola as cold or emotionally unavailable, while Moola may feel drowned or entangled in emotional complexity. Unless other chart factors bridge emotional gaps, intimacy may suffer from unbalanced expectations. Pairings with other air tattva nakshatras, Jyeshtha, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana, offer Venus and Moola shared ideals of independence, mental clarity, and philosophical exploration. These relationships often feel liberating, mentally stimulating, and non-intrusive. Both partners respect emotional boundaries and engage in open-ended dialogue. However, the challenge lies in emotional depth. Air-air combinations can intellectualize love and avoid vulnerability, leading to intimacy that feels light but not always emotionally bonded unless water or moon placements offer emotional bridging. Fire Tattva nakshatras Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni are highly compatible with Moola's air nature. Fire brings purpose, warmth, and the will to act, while air brings perspective, adaptability, and curiosity. Venus in Moola thrives in these relationships, where mutual inspiration, vision, and passionate communication fuel both physical and emotional connection. These unions are dynamic, exploratory, and non-restrictive, which allows Moola to express both its intensity and its detachment without judgment. With Ether Tattva nakshatras, Revati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada, Venus in Moola experiences expansive karmic intimacy. Ether supports all tattvas, making it ideal for Moola's transformative and soul-searching nature. These unions often transcend conventional emotional frameworks, creating space for metaphysical intimacy and unconditional acceptance. Venus in Moola softens in ether pairings, discovering that truth and surrender can coexist. These are often spiritually significant relationships that bring emotional liberation. Water partners are the most emotionally difficult match for Moola's Venus. Water desires emotional bonding, safety, and nurturing, while Moola often resists vulnerability and prefers existential distance. Miscommunication in emotional needs and relational pacing can lead to unresolved emotional hurt or disconnection, unless Saturn, Moon, or Venus form stabilizing yogas elsewhere in the chart. Venus in Moola aligns best with air nakshatras that value freedom and depth, fire nakshatras that add dynamic warmth and action, and ether nakshatras that spiritualize Moola's transformational intensity. Earth can offer grounding, but must allow autonomy, and water often brings emotional expectations that Moola finds difficult to meet. For intimacy to blossom, Moola requires an atmosphere where truth is honored, freedom is preserved, and emotions are allowed but never forced. The Tatva intimacy compatibility of nakshatras, Ashwini Nakshatra. Ashwini Nakshatra falls under the Earth Tattva, which in the elemental system of Jyotish astrology is associated with stability, sensuality, and physical grounding. Venus, as the natural significator of intimacy, beauty, desire, and attraction, operates through the medium of Tattva interaction when placed in any nakshatra. When Venus is placed in Ashwini, intimacy takes on a very physical and action-driven form. Ashwini, being ruled by Ketu and symbolized by the swift horse, initiates contact with raw curiosity and energy. But when it comes to deeper compatibility, the elemental pairings of Earth must be carefully analyzed. According to Tatva Compatibility rules, Earth, Ashwini's element, naturally cooperates with water Tattva Nakshatras, such as Punarvasu, Pushya, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni. In these relationships, the energy of Venus and Ashwini finds emotional receptivity and depth. This fosters a stable sensual rhythm in intimate relationships, where Earth's need for structure is complemented by water's capacity to nourish. In these pairings, intimacy matures into nurturing touch, emotional safety, and bodily pleasure without emotional overwhelm. However, Earth Tattvas, including Ashwini, do not cooperate with air Tattvas such as Jeshta, Moola, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana. Here lies one of the major intimacy frictions for Venus and Ashwini. Air nakshatras bring unpredictability, mental abstraction, and a need for freedom, which clashes with Ashwini's grounded, tactile intimacy style. Such combinations may lead to a disconnect where one partner seeks physical closeness while the other seeks intellectual or experiential stimulation, disrupting Venus's harmonizing function. Intimacy with fire Tattva nakshatras such as Uttara Falguni, Chitra, Vishaka, and Anuradha is also strained for Ashwini. While initially magnetic due to shared physicality and passion, the fire element tends to overheat Earth. Venus and Ashwini may feel overwhelmed or depleted by the high-velocity passion of fire-based nakshatras, leading to burnout or imbalance. Over time, these pairings may show a mismatch in the pacing and rhythm of desire, unless other planetary factors allow harmonization. When Venus and Ashwini relates to another Earth Tattva nakshatra, such as Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, or Mrigashirsha, there is natural mutual understanding. These pairings often feel sensually attuned from the beginning. Intimacy manifests through routine, shared comforts, and physical closeness rooted in familiarity. The drawback, however, can be excessive fixation on material or bodily satisfaction without emotional or spiritual depth, which Venus may crave depending on its house placement and dignity. Ether Tattva nakshatras, Dhanishta, Shatabisha, Purva Bhadrapada, Uttara Bhadrapada, and Revati pose an interesting case. Since Ether Tattva cooperates with all other Tattvas, Venus and Ashwini finds a unique playground for spiritual or non-conventional expressions of intimacy with these partners. The Earth-Ether relationship allows grounding and transcendence to blend. Intimacy in such pairings may transcend the physical, moving into the realm of spiritual companionship or mystic attraction. This can be especially fruitful for those seeking karmic or soul-level unions. The true tension for Venus in Ashwini is seen when it tries to engage with partners from air nakshatras. Since Ashwini is instinctively body-led and seeks rooted expressions of desire, partners from mentally mobile nakshatras like Shravana or Jeshta may appear detached or overly complex in their communication around intimacy. This leads to feelings of rejection or inadequacy for Ashwini, who may not verbalize needs but instead act them out. Over time, the lack of elemental cooperation results in frustration or emotional distance. In matchmaking, it becomes essential to cross-reference the Venus nakshatra with the partner's moon or Venus nakshatra tattva. When Ashwini Venus is paired with a water nakshatra Venus or moon, the elemental chemistry flows naturally. There is attraction, grounding, and emotional intimacy. However, when paired with an air or fire nakshatra, one must look at mutual planetary yogas, or house lords, to ensure that the imbalance in tattvas does not lead to relationship disharmony, especially in intimacy and affection.